to have a special guest. His name is Patrick from Ocean Roots Organic Edible Landscapes. Welcome, Patrick. How are you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for joining us today.
Excellent.
I know a lot of people are going to be very excited to hear your journey and learn from, everything that you're doing. You're located in, is it North Carolina?
I'm right on the border of North and South Carolina right now. Yep.
Oh, okay, okay. So you got a pretty interesting climate there because you get all
Yeah.
four seasons, but you're also down south enough to be able to grow some tropical fruits as well.
Yeah. A lot of what I like doing is telling people, we can grow fruits here. A lot of people are just stuck on the apples, pears, figs, peaches. They don't know you can grow guava and jujube and lemons and citrus and stuff like that. So it's cool to give education to those people and bring good fruits to their table.
Yeah, man, I definitely know where you're coming from. And I think knowledge is such an important thing when it comes to learning new ways of sourcing our food. And, to not get too into it yet, if you could give us a little bit of a background of your journey, how you got into catering, into events, and edible landscapes.
So just a little background, just real quick. It goes deep, I can tell you that. But man, I just got started on wanting to just the education side of things, and then one thing led into another, and then I had multiple friends and entrepreneurs tell me, hey, you should try to do this. You can make money doing this. So it took me a while. I've been kind of putting things together for about 8 years and spent a lot of money and a lot of time. uh Even as far as education goes, I spent money to do that too as well. And obviously getting my hands dirty. And I've enjoyed every second of it. It's grown into more than I could imagine right now, and we're actually looking into a storefront and doing multiple food trucks. And then I have a tent too where we set up at markets and festivals and stuff like that. It's going to be a good year.
Hey, that's the way to think, right? We have to believe in ourselves that as long as we put in the effort, then the results will show. And it's awesome that you got into the education side of things, right? As we mentioned, knowledge is so important.
Yes.
And those friends that advise you to get into it and that you could make good money in it, that is a great thing because a lot of the times it's the opposite. People around us might be scared and not support you in going a different path, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that is awesome that you had some friends that supported you and um, you know helped you get to where you are right now. And you mentioned it's been a journey of 8 years.
Yep.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because it is a long time. So I'm just wondering if you could explain a little bit more on that.
Well, it kind of started with just an idea, I was doing just vegetable garden for myself, and it grew every season to the point to where I had more than enough to pickle and freeze and dehydrate, and even to the point where I was giving stuff away. And everybody just enjoyed it, and the quality of everything was just better than you can get in the big box stores. So people were encouraging me in the community to pursue it and grow it. And like I said, one thing led into another, and I just kind of kept putting the idea in the back of my head, maybe I could do this, maybe I can make money at this. And I decided to put more into the education of it. And like I said, just keep getting my hands dirty because there's nothing better than learning through experience.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. You know, at times we want to wait for the conditions to be perfect to start, but in reality, starting is the perfect condition. And
That's it.
I'm still in that quote from Alex Ramosi, so I didn't make that up.
Yeah, I like
But
him.
it's great because you said it all started with an idea, and the
That's it.
reality is that we all have ideas all the time. At least if you're a creative person, or if you like to imagine things to get better. But ideas are really nothing unless you execute on them.
That's it.
And a lot of the times we don't execute because we are afraid that we're going to make mistakes, or that again the conditions are not perfect. But in reality, it's never perfect. So as long as you start and you give some attempts, and adapt to whatever mistake you made, things are gonna get better. And it's
That's right.
progression, right? Having a little bit of progress, a little bit at a time. So
Yep.
I think that is
Those.
definitely going to relate to a lot of people that might be right now in that position where they have the idea. They might have a regular job that they want to switch to, maybe starting their own company or a side hustle. So, any advice that you would give to those type of people?
Well, first thing is just do it. You got to start somewhere. I mean, it's impossible to get anything done without actually putting boots on the ground, getting your hands dirty, and spending the time and yes, the money if it takes that to get it done. Because I mean, it's your dream or passion, whatever it may be. It's up to you to get yourself out of that situation and better yourself and uh, figure out what your version of comfortable is, and that's different for everybody. Um, I'm not even 100% in this for the money. I just want to spend my time better.
Yeah, 100%. I think money, of course, we need to make a living and pay bills, right? But that's more of a result of the work. If you're
Absolutely.
providing value to people, if you're solving a problem either through a product or a service, then the money will be there, right? Someone needs it, for you to solve that problem either through the product or service, and you're going to make money somehow. But the reality is that it has to be something that is valuable, right? Because it's not just about the passion. Now, that's a plus. Hey, if what you love to do also makes you money, then go for it, right?
100%.
But a lot of the times that is not the case. So we have to be realistic too. One thing that you mentioned though is your version of comfortable. And I was wondering, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because the past few months, I've really had a mindset of getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? Putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. So what do you mean by everyone's version of comfortable?
Well, I've spent a lot of time being uncomfortable getting ready for this, and it's like being in the military or something. They put you through everything to prepare you for being ready for certain situations, and it's important to figure out what your version of comfort is, because everybody's kind of chasing that. And really mine is just the free time, just and not even exactly free time, because I enjoy working and getting my hands dirty. It's just a lot of people think they need $100 million to be comfortable, and really it don't take that. You got to really figure out what you want, and then you can figure out a plan to get there. It makes it a lot clearer and easier to figure out what you need to do next when you figure out really what you want.
I see. So if I understand correctly, what you mean by comfortable is not necessarily comfortable in a way of, hey, I'm just being lazy or everything is
No,
sweet and you know great. More as in, where would you like to be? What are your goals? How does your ideal life look like? Put it down in an in an action plan, and then what do you need to do to get there? And then that will
exactly,
be your comfort. That will be where you want to get. Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
because
think
a lot of people, man, they end up chasing after something that's, you got to go from one place to another, to get there. It's like being on a map or something. You can't go from A to B without going in between A and B. You got to you got to fill in the gaps and figure out what that is. A lot of people just don't have a plan. They got a dream or you know, a goal, but they don't really set out how to get there.
that is very true. I think it's one of my actionable goals that I have is to redraft my business plan, right? Because at times when you first start, you have one idea, but once you start actually taking some steps, then you see a little bit clearer, you see a little bit farther ahead, and you realize, actually, let me go back to the drawing board, because maybe what I had in mind at first, it has changed now. So I think that for sure, being having a plan is so important to avoid uh, just being busy on a day-to-day basis without actually accomplishing anything. I've fallen
Exactly.
for that a lot. I've had a hard time where I spent hours doing things, and then at the end of the day or at the end of the week, not much to show for.
Yep. That's it's the same for a lot of people too. I mean, you just got to figure out, a lot of people don't even know where to go or, don't have a plan or a dream or anything like that. So it's being ahead of the curve, just having a goal, instead of just, getting by and then being comfortable with that. Being lazy, that's not going to get you anywhere either. You're not going It's not just going to fall in your lap, playing the lottery, scratching those tickets or anything. That's not a way to live. It's you got to hustle and really get dirty and get out there, and then you can have a dream. Then you can work to get there.
For sure, having the idea, but then putting boots in the ground, how you said, getting your hands dirty to reach that goal, which started as an idea. But then to reach it, you have to do the plan. What actionable steps do I need to take? So going back again a few years ago, what was your goal? Where did you want to go, and how did you draft that plan?
Really, I just kind of started with the edible landscapes. I really wanted to just plant trees and gardens and grow food and do all that. And then, I've always had a passion for cooking and, being in a restaurant and that side of things too. And I just really, one thing led to another. And I was like, I kind of wanted to mesh the two together and, and take that next step because I mean, there's plenty of money and, uh, you know, comfort to find in that because that kind of thing's going to keep you busy. It's going to make you money to pay the bills. It's going to make you money to be comfortable. It's and you get to feed your passion too at the same time, and also the education side of it. I get to educate people and bring those new memories of trying new things because you kind of never forget that the first time you try jackfruit or durian. A lot of people like that, or a real banana, even. Everybody's used to Chiquita banana, a red or green apple. They don't know there's 100 varieties of everything out there, thousands. So it's fun to educate people on that sense, and maybe even spark their passion for something like that.
That is awesome, man. And how you got into first just growing your own food and combining it with your passion for cooking as well, and how now you were able to also share that with others and helping people find out new things, because it's so true there are thousands of types of fruits out there, but we only know the main ones that we see at the grocery store.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit more about your company, Ocean Roots Organic, and what do you guys do exactly?
Right now, so I'm doing an edible landscaping. Um, so we offer, yard transformations. I tell people, this is gonna bring generational memories to your family, fresh food, um, value to your property even. And really what I try to focus on is the memories. It's just everybody's kind of got a story of, oh, my grandpa planted this or my grandma planted that rose bush or this fig tree. And that passion really set a fire in me because I see people still to this day talk about something somebody planted 50, 60, 100 years ago. And that really drove me home on the landscaping side of it. And I know in our area we don't really have that uh, type of thing, so I decided to bring it here. And I kind of my buddy Jimmy Vegas's house, I done a little test subject there. He bought a new property, was going to build a home there. He did build a home there, and I planted it fully out. He let me have full reign of it, and he's got a little food forest back there now.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. And it's so true that gardening and planting trees does create some awesome memories. It's also a great way to interact with children, teach them, life skills that can translate from gardening to everyday life.
Yep.
But I hadn't thought about the memories part, and it's so true because obviously trees last decades, and you could talk about it 20 years from now. Oh, I planted this
Mm-hmm.
with my brother or with my parents, or my anybody that you planted it with. So that is an awesome way to get someone interested in edible landscapes, right?
Yeah. It's
And
it's a fun aspect of it, and it really does. It's not exactly my sales pitch, but it's really what sparked my passion for it. And I give everybody else that option, and they, it kind of sets in like, oh wait, I have that same memory, and like you said, the education of it, it all that really brings joy to me. So it's like, you get to make money at it and enjoy yourself, and that's really everybody's goal. I think everybody's been told that, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. But that really sparked my interest in to being an entrepreneur. And then I decided to build a brand, and you have to have a face to the name. And then so I got a brand designer to work on things because I'm artistic myself. And I had a million ideas in my head, but I wanted to be kind of divorced from that so it would be more inviting to everyone. So I did spend money on getting that done, and it was a great decision because everybody that's seen the logo, the color palettes, the font, they've been really impressed and enjoyed it just as much as I did. And that's really what led me into doing the market and cafe, the food truck, the markets and festivals, because it's like I said, one thing leads into another and the snowball effect comes. And Get to stay busy and hustle, and you never even have to work. You're busy and running around all the time, and you're doing the entrepreneur thing, but it's worth it because I enjoy every minute of it, and I know it's gonna really explode this year, and that's what I'm excited about is seeing all this come to fruition. No pun intended. It's all about growing, experience, and the health side of everything. Um, so there's a million avenues of this kind of thing. You just have to focus on one thing at a time, and no pun intended, grow it.
That is it's funny because a lot of the times certain words that are related to gardening, growing food, are very specific to entrepreneurship,
Yep.
self improvement,
Yep.
and we could translate them, right? So the fact that you said that you tried to create a brand that was independent of your face, right? That it didn't necessarily rely on your face, which is sort of different from what nowadays we see pushed a lot, right? To build your personal brand,
Yeah.
to put yourself out there, right? So this tells us that there's a way there's many ways to do to have success. You don't have to just do it the way that everyone is pushing it nowadays. So can you elaborate a little bit on that, for somebody that maybe doesn't want to show their face and doesn't also want to go the whole AI, that does their videos for them, but still want to have a brand? How were you able to achieve that success?
I mean, it's like, I mean, obviously you have to have, I don't know how to say, McDonald's doesn't really promote Ronald McDonald anymore. That was a thing in the 90s or, even earlier. So, I mean, they kind of just moved to just their logo. People still obviously know the brands just by the logo. Um, you don't need to do the whole, in my opinion, show your face every single video and do all that just to, get plays and stuff like that, clicks. Um, it does help. I've seen it does help because a lot of people like the interaction between all that. And see a name or see a face to a name. But, I really wanted to promote and grow a brand rather than myself. So then I can, it's going to be a lot easier to expand and grow, um, and be in multiple locations like we want to do. And people still recognize the company and the product, not just, oh, he's going to be here this weekend. I might not be there, but my brand will, my product will, the consistency and the quality will. That's really the main goal with, not really worrying about yourself and really focusing on your company rather than, your own following in a sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it sort of reminds me, I don't remember where I heard it, but a lot of people want to get out of their 9 to 5 jobs. Then they start a business and they don't really focus on building the business. And then years go by and really all they created is a 9 to 5, another 9 to 5, where they're their own boss. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the job depends completely on them. And if they're not there, all the time, the business doesn't run. So what you're saying, and if I, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're trying to build the product, build the company, so that it doesn't just rely on you, which is a good way to plan for the long run, right? You're still there doing the day to day. You're still going to be available in special events or wherever you want to attend. But they say that one day you can't be there, or you want to take a vacation, or you're going to start another location, the other areas are still performing well. So I think it's a good mindset to have, so that you could scale in the long run and hire employees, and at one point the business would run on its own, right?
Exactly. Because I mean, if everything's on your shoulders and your back and you can't rely on um your team or your company, it's gonna you're gonna work yourself to death. I'd rather be in the garden and the greenhouse than scooping smoothies and juices and making stuff like that. I personally I'd rather be getting dirty and picking and planting than inside of a building all day or a trailer all day. But I mean, you can't be afraid to do all of it as well, because if you're not ready to do all that, why should anybody else, So it's you really got to plan ahead, way far ahead, because a lot of people kind of build these brands and companies on themselves, and then it's all on their shoulders and they don't get a chance to get a break. And that comfort everybody looks for keeps running just as fast away from them as they are chasing it. So it's important to plan ahead.
Yeah, going back to, it's important to plan so that we could reach those goals. And it reminded me how we said earlier that we just have to start, right? Before everything is perfect, just start, and then you improvise and adapt as you go. And being able to delegate as well, right? Because at times, we think, hey, no one's going to do it as good as I'm going to do it. So then you, as a business owner, you want to do everything yourself because you're going to put in the best effort. But if you have that mindset, then it's impossible to grow a business and have employees, because you have to, at the end of the day, be able to delegate and trust that your employees will do a good job. And worst case scenario, if they make a mistake, or maybe there was a better way of doing it, then just show them, hey, this could have been done this way. And it's even a learning experience for the owner in being a leader, knowing how to correct people without coming across the wrong way. So I think it's all aspects that we all need to learn. I need to learn. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
But then you mentioned, still, regardless, even you have all the big, a lot of employees, you've delegated most of the task, you still need to be willing to do it yourself whenever it's necessary. So I think that is awesome and key that you mentioned that, because then it keeps us humble. Hey, my company, it's now this amount of success. I don't have to do anything anymore. But then all of a sudden, an emergency could come up. You have to still be knowledgeable of the day to days, so that when needed, you could be a true leader and step in when your company needs it. So I really, really like that.
absolutely.
And
I'm right now I'm a general manager at a restaurant, and and what little bit of free time I have, I focus on this other stuff to expand it. And I'm busy as crap, but it's that general manager position kind of taught me you got to get in there and be a janitor, a cook, a server. You got to be able to do everything. And luckily, I was kind of skilled beforehand to be able to do all that, but showing the staff that you're able to do all that, not only does it keep you humble, but it shows them, hey, if he'll do it, why shouldn't I do it? And it goes a long way. And another thing I've learned is, like you said, how do you keep people on your side, especially when you're not there, to keep up the quality and the consistency. And I really believe in like profit sharing and stuff like that with your sales, because why shouldn't they get a cut of a successful day or week or month at your company? Because it just sharing goes a long way, and it keeps those people happy. It's there. It's You don't need to keep every dime from everything or every fruit. That's one thing gardening again kind of taught me. Wow, I've got an abundant harvest. What should I do with it? Well, eventually the freezer space gets packed up, the pantry gets packed up. You got the it's sharing, and people, even when you're not making money on it, it's a gift, and people don't forget stuff like that. It goes a long way.
Yeah, 100%. And you when you mentioned the different positions within a restaurant, and then you finish on server, right? Being a server. And it's like that is the bottom line, is serving others in all aspects of life, right?
All aspects.
And it's easier said than done, of course. I'm not saying it as if I am the greatest server and I'm, all day every day serving people. No, I actually say it from a stance that I need to get more into helping others, right? Serving,
Absolutely.
because um, that is really the whole point of life, is how could we help other people. A lot of the times we're focused on our own goals, or how could I get ahead, or what do I need to do to achieve what I want to, or get to that comfort level that you mentioned earlier. But in reality, all of that is secondary. If we really focus on how could we help others, how could we solve problems from others, then everything else will be added on after. And having that mindset of abundance is such a key thing. I think we've been brought up in a society of scarcity. So switching that mindset that there is more than enough, right? In growing food, if you are in any way successful at it, you're gonna have more than enough to eat it for yourself. So I think that is some great points that everyone could take and learn, not just on a business side, but on a personal level too. But now I'm wondering, on the, you said you started growing a bunch of years ago, and then you got so much harvest that you started preserving the food. So can you tell us a little bit about what gardening techniques you started doing, and what you had success in, and what you maybe changed to improve on?
Well, that's one thing about gardening and growing in a greenhouse. The seasons fly by, so time goes by even faster for people like us. I mean, not to be, big headed or anything, but it does, especially when you're, waiting on summer or spring, and you're constantly out there growing, tending to plants and trees. Time really flies by. So you really try to take advantage of every single day you get a chance to do that. Because if you don't, you might miss out on, you know, a better harvest. And it's it's really like how do you say, putting that work into mm, not just being out there spending time without getting something out of it, and even through failures, you kind of learn to, you know, what you did wrong, and you can fix that instead of, just dwell on it and quit. A lot of times, stuff fails. I mean, all the time stuff fails. I've planted a million seeds compared to the 100 that have actually bared fruit, and it's all a lesson, and lessons turn into blessings because you really get to take that stuff with you, like you said, in your everyday life and out in the field, because that kind of thing is is important. When you learn what you do wrong, you can fix it. A lot of people get into this kind of thing, and especially if they're at home growing stuff, they get into it and then they get right back out of it just because their tomatoes didn't grow. Instead of trying to figure out why, or trying new things, they end up failing and moving on to something else.
That makes me think of what you mentioned earlier about comfort, and is probably how I misunderstood it at first, is that we have been brought up in a society where we want everything right away, and we are just accustomed to being comfortable,
Yep,
right? So then there's stress of everyday life, of working a nine to five job. And then sometimes when people start thinking about growing their own food, they see it as a way to release stress, right? To get back to nature, to have a hobby that is not just healthy, but is productive as well. But as you mentioned, a lot of people start that journey of growing their own food and initially don't have success, and then they give up and never pick it up again, which is, of course, a some we've all experienced it in one way or another, not just in growing food, but in any aspect of life where, hey, I want to start doing this, or I want to learn this new thing. And at first, everything is tough. Nothing in life that is worth and valuable is going to be easy. So, that mindset of how you see failures, and how you said lessons becomes blessings, right? That's how you said it.
that's it.
Is awesome, because we could easily, if we have the wrong mindset and we make a mistake, or maybe we don't get the result that we were expecting, then we could quit. And I mean, I've done it many times with many different things, right? So that is what a failure is, when you quit. But in reality, if you're trying something new, whether it's business or any other aspect in life, maybe you're trying to get in shape, lose some weight, uh, there is really no failure as long as you keep trying.
That's it.
The moment you quit, that's when you failed. So
That's
in
it.
reality, that gives a lot of hope, a lot of perseverance, because that means that as long as you learn something from that attempt, then you can make changes, make adjustments. Then there was no failure. It was simply a lesson that you learned. So yeah, thank you for
Absolutely.
that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Man, it's so hard to find that these days. People are so used to instant gratification with, social media, and a drive-through window, and they can go to the grocery store and get fill their fridge back up. Um, so it's instant gratification. It's the worst thing that ever, really diseased this population. Like, people are just dead set on getting what they want without having to work for it, with as little effort as possible, I guess I should say. And being finding that comfort is far from that. It's not instant by any means.
It's not, and it really shouldn't be instant. And that's where falling in love with the process, with the work itself, and not necessarily on the objective or the goal. Of course, it's important to have a realistic, achievable, and steps that you could, you know, how do you say it? You could celebrate the small victories, right? But in reality, you could, let's say you have a big goal and it takes you a year to achieve. That celebration is only going to be a couple minutes or maybe a couple of hours.
That's
So are
it.
you going to work an entire year to then celebrate 5 minutes or an hour or maybe half a day? So if you didn't enjoy that entire year, then is it really worth it? Even if you made a
Exactly.
lot of money, money is not going to fulfill you. Now,
Amen.
don't get me wrong. Of course, we can use money as a tool to make a lot of things easier, right? If you have a bigger budget, then you could get to a goal a lot faster. But it's really falling in love with the work. And
That's
I
it.
think that goes back to serving others. If your focus is how can I help people? What problem can I solve? Be it with my product or with my service, or even just um, with what I say to people, how I help them, then the work is you're gonna love to do it. And hey, people are going to look for you just because you know that you don't have a selfish mindset, right? You're really trying to help others.
Absolutely. It goes back to my point of profit sharing with any employee when obviously I have the ability to do that. Um I want to bring all of my friends and family in on this as much as they can, wherever they can, because why not? It doesn't have to be me, like, most people are taught nowadays on social media or TV. You got, there's a whole team to a celebrity. It's just the team doesn't ever get recognized. So it's important to not lose sight of that because, if your focus is just on, your gain, it could be, a very quick celebration for a lot of work and money. And then what? It could be gone the next day or the next year. So longevity is important, and, having good people around you and enjoying, the education and the memories and the hard work it took to get there is just as important as the money or the notoriety. So it's definitely something, I try to tell people not to forget when they have a dream to do something like that. Definitely keep a level head when it comes to trying to do this type of thing. And the same when it comes to growing, you know, don't have an idea of I'm going to get 100 pounds off of, one row of food. If you just get one, it could probably be the best tomato you've ever eaten. And, that's enough of a celebration without knowing it is, until you get to that point. Just got to keep that mindset. It's all about the mindset because, that instant gratification is a disease. As soon as you get bit by that bug, it can be deadly.
100. And that mindset is such a key thing because um, we've been programmed with a lot of incorrect ways of thinking. We limit our own potential, or maybe not even potential, but what we could actually achieve by the way that we think. And how you said also that the team is so important, because it's there's only so much time in a day. It's impossible to do everything. So now that we have all this technology, especially in the past year or two, that AI and all these different tools that help you um, be more efficient and more productive, then a lot of people might be thinking that they don't need a team anymore. And hey, have a lot of examples of people that are doing it on their own and they're making a lot of money. But the fact of working with other people, there's so much value in that, in and of itself. For example, how you said that you knew you didn't want to necessarily be the face to your company, so you went ahead and you hired an expert designer, right? And how that was such a benefit now in the long run, and you see how much it has helped you. So can you share a little bit about the benefits and importance of hiring people to help you in certain aspects of your business, or let's say your homesteading project, and how that could help someone?
Well, it's like you said, you only got so much time in a day. If you try to do it all yourself, you could end up, you know, getting a bad mindset, getting in a bad space in your head of, oh man, I didn't get anything done today, or I didn't get as much done today as I thought I could. And then was it worth the time? Was it worth the money? You know, that's a sickness. You don't ever want to feel that. So it's okay to hire people. It's okay to ask for help. Um, even from the bank if you have to, you know, it's all important because, you know, if you get in a bad headspace of I feel like I could have done this today and you end up being worn out from, you know, 15, 16 hours of work and you end up failing in your head that, you know, you didn't get done what you thought you could. Was it even worth it? You know, it's just you end up piling those days up and you end up going backwards instead of forwards, and that's never good. I've been there.
So how do you prioritize on where do you spend your time, and how do you invest your money to be more productive?
Right now I'm still working at a job. I'm still the GM at a restaurant, so um it's 55 hours plus a week. During the summer I was doing 70 hours a week just there. So trying to do there and this at the same time has been very difficult, but you know, at a certain point you got to become disciplined when it comes to spending money and that little bit of time you get off. Definitely don't forget to reset and rest, you know, and do your chores and all that makes, you know, makes the difference. And then you'll figure out what time you have to spend on your entrepreneurship dream or journey, and you can really figure out how much money you have to spend on that and really plan on the time you have, you know, and then you use that. Don't forget to strike when the iron's hot. Like when you get you know, a chance to do something, do it. Like we had our first event a couple weeks ago. You know, I had the opportunity to do that, and it I had to take time off of work, but you know, and I was real reluctant to do that because I'm a hard worker. I believe in it. I enjoy it, and like I said, when you see an opportunity, you really have to jump on that because, you know, sometimes it is now or never, especially when it comes to something, you know, that can really change the course of your entrepreneurship. It's it's important to pick and choose your battles, you know.
Definitely. So I think from what I'm hearing, discipline is such a key aspect. And I think you're a great example that there are no excuses, because working 55 to 70 hours in a full time employment and still finding the time, the discipline to have your own business, then that means nobody could say they can't do it,
Yeah, you got to
because
you got to do it.
55 to 70 hours, that's more than a full time job. And, a lot of people, I myself included, have used it as an excuse to not work on what I want to do on my own. So I think being honest to oneself is so important, because it's easy to say excuses to anybody else, and people will probably just, I mean, really nobody cares. So they'll just say, okay, yeah, I believe you. But if we're lying to ourselves, then we're not doing any good, you know.
Absolutely.
And then you mentioned something so key, which is strike when the iron is hot, right? So that we don't miss opportunities. Can you say any more on that? Because I think it's so key, right? Not missing opportunities.
Yeah. Right now we have a couple. I have somebody offering me basically half of their entire space. They have a retail shop in. It's a Surf City Surf Shop in Myrtle Beach, and he's really been a good friend of mine, and believes in my blueprint and the brand, and he wants me to go in his shop and split it with him 50-50, and kind of do the whole market and cafe side so we can do a full kitchen and actually have a retail space and seating to do a storefront, an actual brick and mortar, which is important for any brand, especially if you're really trying to grow it. um the food trucks and the events and the catering and stuff, that's really awesome. You get out there and stuff, but the actual storefront is uh is an awesome opportunity to get placed in my lap, basically, because like I said, there's a lot of opportunity there. You're always at a certain location, people can come see you instead of not being somewhere they were there last weekend. That's difficult to have to reply to people on social media and say you're not going to be there this weekend, you know, and then you're losing business, not only money but business, because those people are probably going to seek out that same uh, category of whatever business you're in. They're just going to take it somewhere else. They're going to take their business and money somewhere else, and they could be just as satisfied there instead of bringing that money to you and that business to you. And also the word of mouth to spread. You could miss out on something like that. It's the same. It's the same thing. You have got to strike when the iron's hot. When you see an opportunity, obviously think about it. Weigh your options and do some math, and definitely know when to go and when to stay.
So has word of mouth been the main way that your business has grown?
I would say so. Other than Instagram, I'm really big on Instagram, just trying to post stuff there every day. My girlfriend Betsy, she runs the page mostly, and does a great job with keeping people up to date and posting content, and helping me out with spreading the education of everything. And it's been a huge success. Like when we done that event, she done took a couple clips and posted a video from that, and just that one video alone got 4 hours of playtime, a couple thousand plays, and got a lot of shares. And it's been awesome to see that, because this is Instagram. Social media is a tool. You got to use it wisely, uh, because it can help or hurt you. But it's just the same as word of mouth, because nowadays people are talking and texting over the phone, resharing and sharing stuff, other than meeting up at the coffee shop and talking about things. So technology is definitely huge tool to use, especially being free uh, for most people. I mean, I know you can pay to boost stuff, but we haven't had to do that yet. So it's cool to be able to use one of those tools and not have to pay money for it.
Okay, yeah, no, it's one video can change someone's life, right? And if it gets to the right
Absolutely.
audience and enough people watch it, it could completely change someone's life or business overnight or over a couple of days or weeks. So definitely we are in unique times in that anybody really can reach their audience, and there's really no excuse. Is again just putting in the work and really providing value, because at the end of the day you can't fool anybody. Everyone knows what is really authentic, and if you're actually helping someone solve a problem or provide a good service or product, you know. And you mentioned that, you know, years ago one of the ways that you started to grow food was seeing how there's a scarcity of our food supply, also the quality of our food. A lot of the times it has, you know, chemicals that we don't know what has been put in it. um, so that's how you got into growing food, right? Can
Yeah.
you share a little bit more about that initial um, wanting to get into growing your own food?
Yeah, just from the health aspect of everything, it's been a major play on my decision to really go with this because, you know, everybody kind of goes through that phase where they want to get healthy. Like you said, they either get in the gym or they go on a diet. Um, and, which is great. It's just a lot of people fall out of that phase and it becomes a phase and they don't really do anything with it. The, I kind of done a lot of research and digging into, conspiracies and stuff, what have you, when it comes to the vaccines and the bioengineered food and the chemicals they spray on it. And growing up in, farming and agriculture stuff too, I've seen a lot of chemicals sprayed on crops. And, it really took me to dive deeper into exploring, you know, that side of thing. And then realizing, a lot of this stuff is tainted and, a lot of even pharmaceutical companies are producing pesticides and stuff like that. A lot of that didn't make sense to me. So I decided to explore, organic inputs, fertilizers, methods, and stuff like that. And when I did start growing stuff like that and then started eating it, just the flavor in itself was enough to, send me down that rabbit hole of, I mean, if it tastes better, it's obviously got to be better. Then you start eating cleaner and you feel better. You can think clearer, and it's downhill from there. You're all in at that point because you start to spend money on composting and finding these inputs that are organic and other solutions of these problems like pesticides and mold and stuff like that on stuff. It's 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 a rabbit hole once you go down it, and that you get bit by that bug. I mean, there's a million other ways to go about a problem, than just one solution like we're mostly presented with this day.
That is so true that there are multiple ways to solve the same problem, and there's not necessarily a right one. There is obviously some that are more efficient than others, but that's not to say that we should just, that's why being able to work in a team is so important, because as a business owner that you are, you might post a problem to your employees and then you have three or four options on how to solve it. And it doesn't mean that any of them is right and the other ones are wrong. It just means, hey, which one would be more efficient for the time being? So being open minded and exploring, how you say you started exploring organic methods, then you started seeing the results and how the flavor tasted so much better. And then that motivated you even more. And then you saw how it impacted your mindset and how you could think clearer. So you saw even better results, right? And then now, fast forward years, and it's a completely different life, you know. And I'm just wondering, when you first started, how much land did you start out with?
Oh, it was very little. It was like we I was lucky enough to be able to start a garden on my parents' plot, and it was, I mean, we started with maybe not even, it was like an 8 by 10 or 10 by 10 foot, just a little something, and we started growing just a couple little things. This is later on in life. This is years ago. Um, like my grandparents had a huge, like their property where they lived. They had a maybe 2 acres of land. Obviously, their house was on it, and they had a yard with, flowers and shrubs and stuff on it. But the entire back was just filled with a whole garden. And then, we started doing that there at our house when I was, late teens. And just that little bit kind of, gave me the inspiration to keep going, and I kind of pushed them to do a bigger spot, which was still on their land. And, I ended up tilling it all myself and clearing it and doing, all the dirty work, because, I had to do that first to kind of prove to them, I wanted this. And it was cool to, see them see the sweat equity I put into it. And then, we started planting that out, and it grew to I don't know, maybe it was probably like 50 feet wide and 60 or so feet long. And then the next season we that, made that plot even bigger, and then another plot down closer to a pond. Just kept experimenting and trying stuff, because of dappled light situations and moisture and soil quality. Um, I learned a lot doing that, just gardening, vegetables. Then I kind of got into the fruits. That's when I got diseased by that. That was bad. I When I got into the fruit, man, I went a whole nother level. I started planting. I think I planted like 30 or 40 trees out there, and they were not happy because, they were like, "Why are you doing this?" It was far fetched at that point. I was the crazy one. But now we're eating off those trees. My peach tree was full this past year, like full of peaches, abundance. Pears, figs, apples,
But
oranges, and after that, that's what sent me over the edge to the tropical fruits. And
I don't mean I want to interrupt you here, and I apologize, but at
you're
that
good.
point where the fruit, growing fruit trees took you to another level, at that moment, what was still your motivation? Why were you so interested in that?
Well, I kind of got the mindset of everybody's just used to, the apples, oranges, and bananas that they see at the store, and I started exploring, the tropical stuff. And then, on the internet, and seeing, what all these people are doing in other countries and in South Florida, Central Florida, really drove me to want to explore what I could grow here in my zone. And I started doing that. And then I got into wanting to grow out of my zone. And that's when even my friends were calling me crazy at that point. Families like, why are you spending thousands of dollars on a greenhouse and trees and seeds, and and it's really cool to see it go from just empty greenhouse to a mini tropical forest in your yard, especially when it's way far out of its zone. It's like I said, and to the educational side, it's inspiring to people. Especially it really makes me happy to let people try these fruits they've never even heard of. I just today, me and my friend went to the greenhouse, and I let him. We picked a few oranges, tangerines, and mandarins, and there was a couple jaboticabas on two of my trees, and he got to try those for the first time. And I just love sharing those experiences with people.
So at that point, when you started to really get into exploring about tropical fruits, how other countries grow, obviously Florida, and it sparked your interest. How old were you at that point?
I was in my 20s. I was in my late 20s, actually. And actually, me and my buddy Jimmy would take trips down to Florida, and some of our friends would have, papayas and bananas and stuff growing. And most of the time when we went, it was, late season. So most of that stuff was done. But it really inspired me to kind of explore the tropical fruit side of it, because like most people, they don't know you can grow that stuff in the United States, whether it's even South Florida or not. They don't even know it, especially like a coconut. Most people think Dominican or South America, and it's really cool to get bit by that bug, and just go down that rabbit hole, and you get to talking to other people and telling them, then you get to finding these other people on social media who have greenhouses, in Virginia, Tennessee, New Jersey, and they're growing tropical stuff too. So it's possible. Then you get, even more motivation. And that's when the hobby really went to a passion, because, I started spending a lot of money and time on the fruits.
So I think if I understand correctly, is having that curious mindset and wanting to really explore your interest, not really caring about what others would think about what you're doing, because you're going out of the ordinary. You're doing something that the people around you don't see the reason why, and you're spending all this money, spending all this time, where to others it might seem pointless, but it's not worrying about that. You, as long
Exactly.
as you're not harming others, you're not harming yourself, right? You're doing something that is positive, then we should be brave, have courage, and go for it, because it still
Absolutely.
took effort. It still took work, right? Like you had to drive, or I don't know if you took an airplane, but you still had to go from
Both.
out, out of state all the way to Florida and interact with people. So all of that
Hmm.
is not characteristics of a lazy person, because we all have interest. We all have things that we would love to learn or explore. But a lot of the times we leave it at that. Oh, I would like to learn this, or I would like to learn this skill or this hobby. But at the end of the day, it takes effort. Even let's say you like fish, you never fished before and you want to go fishing, you still have to go to where the water is and be patient to catch that fish. So I think is very interesting and awesome your story, because many times in my life I've had things that I've wanted to take on or learn, and then maybe I've been just lazy and left it at that. So it's encouraging to know that, hey, we shouldn't be afraid of what others think, and we should be willing to put in that effort because at some point we're gonna see the fruit, not just physically, literally fruit trees, but we're gonna see the fruit one way or another in our life. Either we're gonna meet
Absolutely.
some awesome people, or our character is gonna be developed throughout those trips that we're taking. And who knows, someone might try the same things that you just mentioned, go to different states, and maybe realize, hey, this wasn't the path ultimately, but in that journey, they learn so many things about themselves and about the world that they will take on for the rest of their lives, you know?
Absolutely. I can promise you, I'm the only person in my area with, tropical trees and that much money and time spent into it with a greenhouse. And, it didn't deter me for a second. I mean, it was just something I wanted to do. So I did it. Um, and in the process, I did inspire some friends and family to, plant stuff, not necessarily a greenhouse with tropical trees in it, but they did expand the horizons that they, previously set for themselves and, planted blueberries and figs and citrus and seen that you can overwinter some of these varieties and, have them produce more fruit for longer. And, it was cool to see that, spread that passion to other people.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know. I am guessing that it has been so rewarding and reassuring on the path that you have taken. Earlier, you mentioned, well, actually, before our call, you mentioned to me on how you learned a lot from your grandparents and how they would grow their own gardens. And it seems like past generations, there was a lot of more knowledge on how to grow your own food and how to keep some livestock, either some chickens or sheep, goat, rabbits, you know, any type of livestock, when nowadays it's really not that common. So I wanted to just ask you, why do you think those basic skills to grow your own food have been lost through the passing of time?
Oh man, I could go on and on about this, but it's that instant gratification. It's brainwashing of the government and school systems. You know it's it's a million different things. Medicine, but it's they taught me to grow things, and it was more of an experience for them to spread to their family. But really, I come to find out they would buy half of a hog or half of a cow and go get it processed themselves, and now people do that for the quality and the regeneration of land and stuff. And they did it for cost. They did it to save money. Now people do it to to help the environment and to know where their food's coming from, what it's going to taste like, the quality side of it, which is definitely not bad or wrong by no means, but you can also save money by doing all that too.
Oh, 100%. I mean, um, I think as prices keep going up, more people would see the benefit of investing in buying larger quantities, because at the end of the day, you do have to buy a larger quantity at once, but you're gonna say you save money in that
Absolutely.
investment. But then, how you said, now a lot of people are very interested in knowing where their food comes from. The taste of it will be better, knowing exactly how those animals were raised. And back in the day, it was mainly to save money, but that's probably because the food system hadn't been so tainted yet, right? So at that point, it was mainly about money. Now it's about money and all the other all the other
Yeah,
reasons. And
it's
no, I agree with you. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Though the instant gratification probably did lead a lot of down the decades for people to go away from those food growing skills because they do take a lot of effort. It's not like you just throw a seed in the ground and then 3 months later you have all the food that your family needs. No, you do have to put in a lot of sweat equity, how you mentioned earlier. And I agree that there's brainwashing involved, school system, the medical industry wants us sick. So if we don't know where our food comes from, then we don't know what we're eating, and then our health is going to be diminished. So what do you think we could do to get back to gaining that knowledge so that we could then pass it on to the next generations again?
Um, I really believe in, spreading the passion of it. If you spread the passion of all this to other people, it's everything else is going to follow because they're going to be more willing to spend the time, the money, um, and they might accidentally spread that to other friends and family in the community. So it's the passion side of it is what I'm really big on. The passion, the education. Like I literally give away jackfruit at this event we were at a couple weeks ago, just to spread the passion and the love of it. Just to see people smile because I know it will spark something inside these people, whether it is to come bring me more business or to just explore tropical fruits in general. And it's the same way with just gardening at home. That's exactly what our grandparents and their grandparents did. They grew a garden. They shared with the community. With if one person grew tomatoes really well, the other person would trade with the person who could grow cucumbers really well. It's all of that'll come back to you. If I just believe in spreading the knowledge and the passion. You spread the passion, and then the knowledge follows with it. They end up teaching themselves or finding somebody to teach them about the stuff, and it's that's what I really try to focus on when it comes to because you start telling people about the rabbit holes and the conspiracies and stuff, and they think you're crazy or well, this is too far, and then that'll kind of deter them from really exploring this type of stuff.
I could relate to that, of course, trying to open people's eyes to the conspiracies and the strategies of the enemy, right? I know that you believe you're a believer as well in Jesus, right? So by
Absolutely.
saying the enemy, of course, I mean on a spiritual sense, but we know that then that extends out to the physical world. And I have fallen into that mistake of trying to show people all the different issues or conspiracies, but in reality, that is not the best approach. Instead, if
Absolutely.
we use the same effort in positive ways, which is what you're saying in your passion, right? Now, in our case, okay, we have a passion for growing our own food, but let's say for somebody that they have a different passion, or maybe they don't even know what their passion is, what do you recommend to those people to find fulfillment and to improve on their life?
That's difficult because I try to really. every aspect, like you said, can be turned into, some sort of phrase about growing and life in general when it comes to gardening or what have you. Everything comes with growth, and kind of is the same when it comes to biblical references. There's so many biblical references about growing, farming, and that sort of thing. So I kind of tell people too when it comes to that we have this primal urge, to pick fruit, to grow fruit, vegetables, whatever it is. It's just the harvest. I feel like it's a primal thing ingrained in us, and I always end up going back to that when I end up talking to people in a slump or a hole when it comes to that stuff. So when they have another passion, it's hard to direct that advice, because I end up always talking about growing, whether it's biblical or actual fruit. It's primal. I really feel that. That's why I've so many of my friends have got to pick fruit with me or harvest food with me, and I just see that smile and that passion, that interest spark in them, and I just know it's primal. It's biblical.
100%. And is seeing the benefits in it more than coming from fear or scarcity. It's more about the what we get from it is so much more than just securing our food supply. Because I mean that is of course important. And actually, my next question was related to that. But you're so right in the other than okay, where is our food gonna come from? Because hey, we gotta eat every day. There's so many other benefits to it. So I think that is such a good mindset. But I'm still gonna ask my next question, which is how important do you think food security is in today and the world that we are living in?
It's very important because a lot of people just lack the knowledge and the know-how to do it. So heaven forbid we ever really had to go back to that. A lot of people would be struggling or even starving or doing anything they could possibly do just to eat. So that alone should kind of inspire people to kind of produce a passion for doing this, even if it's on a small scale. Just it's another tool to have in your bag when it comes to scarcity, which happens all too often. They threaten war or just a hurricane comes, and then people go crazy at the grocery store. So it's it's important to have that tool in your bag just in case, because nobody really ever knows. So why
Yeah,
not?
nobody exactly. Why not? If we are to provide and protect for our families, be ready. And you mentioned earlier how back in the day, if you grew tomatoes and your neighbor grew cucumbers, then they would trade and barter. And why not go back to that? There's so many benefits in interacting with others, in helping each other out, that we have lost that connection with our community, with our neighbors. A lot of the times, uh, both in the city and even in rural areas, people don't even know who their neighbor.
Yeah.
They barely know their name, or they say hi to each other, but they don't truly know them. On a personal level, and it might be that one of the reasons is because we are so disconnected from our food supply and from relying on each other, that people don't see the benefit anymore on building relationships. So yeah, I think that um, we have to lead by example, because again, we can't try to convince people through fear, right? So if we show them the benefits and how it could impact in so many other ways, then at least some people will embrace it as well. um, my last question that I really wanted to ask you is, in we've talked a lot about a lot of different topics today, but if people listening that made it this far, and if you want them to just leave with one thing that they remember, what do you think that will be for them to remember?
Just don't forget where you come from. And if you have a passion or a dream, try to pursue that. Whether it costs money or time, just find the time, find the money. Don't forget to lean on your neighbors, your friends, your family, especially people that are successful in entrepreneurship. A lot of times they'll give you advice for free, and that's something I was never afraid to really do, is just get out there and ask questions, try to gain the knowledge. That always adds to your passion, and it can never hurt. It always is going to help. And like I said, those lessons are blessings. So you got to take everything as a positive, and no matter how bad it is or a failure, whether it's a crop or a new skill, just keep pursuing it, keep fighting.
Yeah, I love that. To Don't forget where you came from. It's so key. And then having that curious mindset to always ask questions, not being afraid to reach out. A lot of the times I've struggled with that, to not seem that I don't know what I'm talking about. And then that's pride, really. So having that humility to reach out to those who have been successful and asking questions. And as you mentioned, a lot of the times those people are more than willing to answer those questions and to help someone that was in the position that they were previously. So definitely, lessons are blessings is what we should always keep in mind. And then the last thing is really just anybody listening that found this information interested and wanted to reach out to you, get to know you more. Can you, you know, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you? And do you have any upcoming projects, events, or new ventures that you would like to invite people to?
Yeah, absolutely. Oceanroots.organics@outlook.com. That's my email. Just any questions you have, you can email me there, and it's my personal email. So I'm going to directly get that and be able to talk to you and direct you from there. Um, Obviously, the Instagram, it's ocean_roots. Hold on a second. Let me not get this right or wrong. Ocean_roots_organics, you know, and we do a lot of our posting there for events and inquiries also there. Next up, like I said, I think I have an event, little pop up coming up at the end of this month. It's going to be right after Thanksgiving, Small Business Weekend. Um, and then just pursuing the storefront, the brick and mortar, and expanding the food trucks, building those out and getting those placed. And I'm ready for spring to hit so we can do some markets and festivals and stuff. It's going to be a good year.
So again, man, thank you very much for joining today, and
Thank
thank you
you.
everybody for listening.